Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about the zodiac signs Scorpio and Crimes. And yes, this does apply and pertain to the Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. Well, anyway, people, I want to be talking about the crimes I believe Scorpio has a very strong propensity to commit. And anyway, first off, well, whatever Scorpio does, it's often done in a very sneaky and surreptitious manner. Scorpio could very well be the best in terms of committing crimes on average. I understand there's a number of websites that has the zodiac sign Cancer being the number one in terms of, I guess, apprehended criminals. But that's only based on sun sign and not moon sign and ascendant. And secondly, I think that doesn't necessarily prove the zodiac sign Cancer commits most of them. I think Scorpio may actually be the strongest, most frequent perpetrator, but they're just so stealth-like. I mean, they just really, being so sneaky as they are and surreptitious, I think they just don't get caught very often. I think that's really what this is about. And I mean, Scorpio could do something and practically right in front of you, I think, at least compared to the other signs on average, and you may not even realize that all of a sudden you might have a flat tire or something, and Scorpio may very well have just done something so fast and just in such a subtle manner. Scorpio, really, what it is about them is that they could do things in sometimes in a very subtle way. I mean, they are the ones, as I stated before, I think they're the ones that elude capture probably about the best. They could be that ultimate cat burglar, and they're also the ones I think that can leave the least evidence behind. I think Virgo, as I stated in a previous video, Virgo might be the most meticulous in terms of cleaning up a crime scene, but Scorpio, just generally, they're the ones I think doesn't leave as much evidence, so they don't have that much to take care of later on. Scorpio crimes can be like connected with manipulation. It could be blackmail, using information about something they have on something that could be very damning to them and using it against them to get what they want. Scorpio also, in terms of their crimes, I mean, Scorpio is the one I think that would probably be the most frequent stalker. Scorpios, I mean, I think that's one of their crimes that they might commit frequently is really, or it would be stalking, whether it's just regular stalking or cyber stalking. A lot of this is connected with the thing that they have for power and control, I believe. And Scorpios could be very obsessive and fixated. And it's like, if you reject a Scorpio, I mean, more often than the other signs, they're still going to have some kind of, they still are often going to try to persist to have some kind of connection with you somehow. And they a lot of times just can't take no for an answer, some rejection. And especially if it's some kind of like relationship they have, and you cut them off and they don't think it's justified or rationalized, they might be coming. It might start a very strong stalking process. Scorpio, what I think it is about them is that I've talked about this before about Scorpios, that they just simply have such an indomitable spirit, and that there's something about them that it's very hard to conquer. And they feel, I think what happens is, if you reject Scorpio, they take it like, okay, this person's win, they won the battle, they had their way, but I'm not going to let this happen. They're not going to emerge victorious over me. So what happens is Scorpio will still often persist because they want to win that battle, and that means doing whatever they can to either get you back in their life, or they're going to get you back through vengeance and revenge. And a lot of times this is just a revenge trip that they have. And another thing, I think Scorpio, I can figure prominent Scorpio in terms of crimes committed. It could be things connected with promiscuity. It could be prostitution. And even I think Scorpio also, even though this may, I mean, it's not punishable by law, but it could be just having extramarital affairs and clandestine relationships while married. And those are things, I mean, because Scorpio, I think a lot of it is, I mean, is it just like, I mean, what I'm saying is it might be seen as a godly crime to some, but not necessarily punishable by law. And the thing about it is a lot of this is attributed to Scorpio. I mean, the Scorpio of all the signs, I believe, is unequivocally the most sexual. That Pluto-Mars combination, I think, can give them that very powerful sexual nature. And Scorpios of all the signs, a lot of times they just can't get enough sex. And I think a lot of it too is it's like they like to, Scorpio being as sneaky and surreptitious as they are, I think it's kind of like, well, it gives them something to do in terms of being sneaky, doing something without getting caught. And I think with some of them, they kind of get that little rush from it. I'm not saying they're all like this. I'm not stereotyping it by these people by any means. I'm sure most Scorpios are actually very loyal, steadfast, and faithful. But the ones that express this energy in a very negative manifestation or expression can be like this more so than the other signs, I believe, on average. And the thing, too, about Scorpios is that they could actually manipulate you into committing a crime because that's just their nature. Scorpios could be rather manipulative and they could bait you because what Scorpio is, they're a master really at the manipulation game, and they also are so good at deciphering the motives and characters of others. They also can detect a person's good attributes very quickly, and they can also see their weaknesses, so they can home in on one of your weaknesses and do something to agitate you and provoke you, may provoke you into some assault and battery against them and get a crime on you, and they didn't even have to throw a punch or do anything necessarily illegal to get you to do that. And Scorpio just can be that way. And Scorpio, I mean, is the sign associated with death. And the thing about it is Scorpio, if they become murderers, they're ones that can do this probably, as I said before about being sneaky and surreptitious. They're the ones that might elude capture the longest, I mean, of all the signs on average. This is the Boston Strangler had a Scorpio ascendant. I mean, I think that could be one good example of this. And Scorpios too, I talk about the manipulation thing before. I think when you see with Scorpios too, I mean, you could get a number of them doing, like being like a phony psychic or fortune teller, because they could be very persuasive, and they could get, and this comes back to the manipulation thing connected with the signs. So you look at, speaking of manipulation, you look at the infamous notorious cult leader, Charles Manson, has his sun in Scorpio. And he's obviously a very, very strong negative example of this, or example, a very strong negative Scorpio energy. And he took, I mean, talk about manipulating others to do his bidding and do these killings. I mean, you talk about manipulation in its strongest and nefarious activity. I mean, that is obviously one person that took the cake as far as this goes. And the thing, they are just, the one last thing I want to get at as far as Scorpio crimes can go, well, there could be connected with sex, and not just the prostitution, but sexual assault and battery as well could be some crimes, and rape as well, because those are all, of course, sexual crimes. And the thing, anyway, as far as that goes, well, that will conclude this YouTube astrological segment for Scorpio crimes. And stay tuned next time, where I'm going to be giving my take on the July 23rd, 2017 new moon in Leo. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.